Games, Brains, and Head-Banging Life here. Happy Halloween. We are doing a tier ranking for something that I've been planning to do, but I've always kind of been putting off for these tier rankings because there's so many that it was kind of hard to decide what was going to go in there and whether or not it could be that objective, if I'm honest, because it is, of course, found footage horror. I've chosen 35 random found footage horrors that I've seen or we've seen or you've seen and so on to put into this tier ranking. Now, for those who don't know, the bane of my existence when it comes to horror is found footage. I think it can result in great movies. However, those are so damn rare, that it makes it not worth putting yourself through another tepid, repetitive, unwatchable piece of trash. The Blair Witch Project obviously was hugely successful in 1999, but what really popularised the genre, not just in my opinion, but I think realistically did, was Paranormal Activity. That was your first real example. Blair Witch was low budget and it made an incredible amount of money, but look at Paranormal Activity as a super low budget, almost no budget release, and how much money that made. Obviously that would prompt X amount of sequels. You might find some of them in this tier ranking. And obviously after that, everyone wanted a piece of that pie. And the fact that you can hit 2020 and still find found footage movies released that do the exact same tropes, follow the exact same beats and steps and so on, and offer nothing new. And we know what they are, the tropes of found footage horror. Just name me some tropes. When you watch a found footage horror, what are you expecting?
Shaky camera.
Yep.
Bad lighting. The excuses why they're filming.
If you even get that.
If you even get that.
Yep.
The reasons why they're filming. No justification of why you wouldn't just drop a camera.
Yep, it's all. These are just exactly some of the examples that you'll find, and all these movies have it in some way. Some better than others, some not. Some way worse. There's everything here. If it's been reviewed in the site, ranges from a high quality found footage movie, because there are some of them here, to things that will give them 1 out of 10, just because how poor they were, not just as a filming technique, but also the story and stuff like that. So we are going to be putting them into a tier ranking. We have 5 categories. We're going to have top shelf, which is the best of the best. Classy, so basically, great.
Yeah.
Fuzzy, which kind of works as good. I've gone for the kind of fuzzy camera work. Poor and dirt worst. I like that because dirt worst.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get started.
Yeah.
And we begin with one I don't think you've seen, but it's called Amber Alert.
No.
So Amber, do you know what an Amber Alert is?
Oh, yeah, terrorist thing.
No.
No? With a warning? I don't know.
It's a warning. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone, but I believe it's specifically to do with a lost child, a child that's been kidnapped.
Oh, yeah, of course I've heard that. Yeah, Amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this premise is a young group of course, they're young adults, always fucking young adults, driving on a trip and so on, and get an Amber Alert, and then believe they see the girl in the back of a car. And so they begin to follow that car.
Okay.
And obviously they're filming all along the way, and eventually it ends up at a house and people get killed.
Okay.
Yeah, that is literally this movie in a fucking nutshell.
Yeah.
Premise, I don't mind the premise. I think if it had been done in a more terrifying way, it could have been. But ultimately, it's not. It's not that at all. But ultimately, this is one of these. When I would think of Amber Alert, I just always come down with this thing. Like, why, come the end of the movie, they're still filming? So you can kind of go, well, okay, you're filming because, like, earlier on, because, you know, you think you've seen a kid, you want to get the footage, you want to show it to the police and stuff like that.
Especially if you're filming cars and things like that, areas, locations, you'd want to film.
Yep. Well, you've just touched upon one of the biggest problems with it. A lot of this is filmed from inside cars. How watchable is that, do you think? You know, it's not. I can barely remember the characters. I saw this movie years ago, and I'm wrecking my brains trying to get as much information out as I possibly can. And the best I can come up with is what I've just described. So, I'll be putting this in a thing, and I'm going to put this in poor as a starting point. Not the worst, but poor.
Yeah.
Which brings us to one of my most disappointing found footage ones.
Yeah.
It is As Above, So Below.
Oh, such a wasted opportunity. The premise really...
Oh, God, I got so excited.
Yeah.
I got so excited. I love anything in horror to do with the possibility of the realm of hell. And I always remember the point where this movie briefly grabbed me and hugged me and said, I've got you, buddy. we're going to do something here, was when they basically get to the gates, when it's got the wording, abandon all hope, that whole thing above it. I remember being like, oh my fucking God, this is going to be great. And then it was just like, oh God, it's not. It's just people in a cave. It's people in a cave with things going fast past them in the background and putting the camera down so we can purposely see the shadows behind. And then in the end, it's like, oh no, the world's upside down. And she, it's just such a waste of fucking time.
Yeah. I would go with Dirt Worse just because the disappointment bumps it up a level for me.
Agreed. This is the thing. Like, I got so stoked for this. I thought this was going to be something really, really special.
Even the artwork as well.
Really good.
Oh, yeah. Black and red. The Eiffel Tower's upside down. Obviously, it means you're going to hell. Yeah, no.
I really, really, the premise really excited me enough to make me forget about found footage. And it was such a letdown. That's, you're right. It belongs in Dirt Worse just because of what it could have been and what it ended up being. Bad Ben.
Not seen Bad Ben.
So I am just doing one Bad Ben. I am not doing the multitude of sequels here.
Oh, God.
Now, of course, this is the work of one particular man. I've forgotten his name, unfortunately, but he's the only actor, at least in the first. There's some more actors in later films. He's the producer, director, and stuff like that. And it's a franchise. Somehow this has become a franchise. Very, very low budget. Tom Riley. I believe that's the character's name. Might actually be his real name as well. Tom something. Anyway. And it's found footage stuff about... And the first film is he's a man who buys a house in a police auction. And he wants to... Basically, his initial filming reason is that he wants to sort of show, like, look, this is flipping houses.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. Buying a police auction cheap and so on. But then things go bump in the night. And he ends up setting up those cameras, Paranormal Activity style and stuff like that. They have a tongue-in-cheek edge to Bad Ben has a tongue-in-cheek edge to it. That's one of the things that does improve it. And if you watch the films in a row, and there's more to come, I believe one was due out Independence Day this year.
Oh, really?
But I don't know if that got pushed back because of obviously all the shit that's gone down. But I think it's 6 deep now, the point. He churns them out.
Yeah.
Like, churns them out because they're no budget releases. Very, very little he has to do. So... It's not, these aren't, and they're not good movies. I'm not going to sit here and say they're good movies. I have a little bit of a soft spot for them. Purely because I've seen so many. It's like, what would you call it? Like a Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, so you're imprisoned by these
Yeah, like that kind of thing where I'm like, okay, it's another like with Amityville. When I was just focusing on Amityville.
Oh, God.
And it was shite off the shite. And I just felt like I was like, you know what, I can't fucking stop. I got to keep going, that kind of thing. I get that with Bad Ben. The first film is probably the strongest. There is a later one that I thought was quite good as well. And I think, considering it's so no budget and it's the work of just one guy, I think it belongs in the middle, fuzzy. It's not particularly scary, but everything makes sense, and I think it's a fair place for it. Okay, Dirt Worst. This next one goes on the Dirt Worst, and I'll explain why. It is Blair Witch, the Blair Witch of 2017. Was it 2017?
Yeah.
But Blair Witch, the new Blair Witch project, and this is Dirt Worst simply, and it's bottom of Dirt Worst.
Oh yeah.
Right now, I consider it the worst of worst, and it's there. Because it learned nothing. It went, that shit you liked in 1999, let's just do that again with worse characters, more CG shite, and that's it. Nothing else. Oh, no, sorry, we've got drone footage, because we're up to date. Drone footage, as if everybody wasn't fucking doing that by that point. This was... I hate this movie. I hate this movie. We watched it quite recently as well. But I hate this movie because it could have tried to learn any lessons, but it didn't do any of that. It went, what did people like? Let's just do that again.
Yeah. But worse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Worse.
No,
That's the thing. Worse because it's so unoriginal at this point. Absolutely.
Get in the bin.
Absolutely. Now, I was wondering when I did this list, and I wasn't really planning this, and I was just thinking, what found footages do I know? And I realised, oh shit, there's probably a chance very few will end up in the top shelf area.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we now reach it. It is Butterfly Kisses. Butterfly Kisses, for me, is one of the best found footage horrors ever, let alone of the modern day. It tells a story of the Blink Man, I believe it is called, which is an urban legend in a place in Maryland, I believe. And it's supposed to be a homeless man that got hit by a train in a dark tunnel, disused tunnel now. And the legend is you would go there and stare into it, I think, from midnight for 1 hour without blinking. And then you would close your eyes, and then you would feel the blink man's eyelashes rubbing your face, which is considered a butterfly kiss.
We have watched this one. I have seen this one with you. Yeah, yes.
And basically, that's the premise of the legend. So that may not initially thrill, and I totally get that. Actually, the real point of this movie is it's a documentary within a documentary. So in this movie, we are following a filmmaker who is trying to make a film, documentary style, like the Blair Witch, about the butterfly, about the Blink Man. And his entire premise is that he believes he's got a Blair Witch project. He even references that a lot. And he talked to like the director of the Blair Witch. It's like a behind-the-scenes movie interview. Yeah. And he believes he's got a similar kind of thing where he can convince people it's real and that kind of thing. Yet no one believes him. And he's constantly mocked as being a rip-off and this. And there's a great part where he talks to, I think, a radio phone-in show with the Blair Witch guy. He calls him like a rip-off merchant and stuff like that. And his descent into madness. But also, is this legend actually real? And the investigation in that. It's 2 films in one. And honestly, it is... I can't tell you to go see this movie enough. Check this movie out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Because it's a mockumentary, that's my favoured style of found footage. Yeah. Because half mockumentary, half, because you're also watching the footage that he found of the people who were investigating the Blink Man the year before, which is how his Blair Witch idea is coming about. So you've got 2 in 1. So you have got the found footage tick boxing, so to speak. But you've also got the mockumentary style.
And I feel like the mockumentary style gives it like a framework.
Yeah.
So rather than just giving us some bullshit message going, this is police footage, just have it as it is. It's like, no, we've taken this footage, we've edited to make it more entertaining. That's the right word if it's about murder, but more easy to access. And this is how we've edited and produced it for you to watch as a viewer, rather than this police footage. This is what happened.
God, fuck that.
It's just laziness.
So for me, this is top shelf. This is one that's so deserving, and it's one I thoroughly recommend. To my recommendations, this is one of the earliest known found footage horrors. Not the first. It's often considered to be the first, but I can't remember the name of the one that actually is kind of cited as the first, but certainly one of the more popular early. And it's a video nasty. It is Cannibal Holocaust. Cannibal Holocaust, is a very surprising video nasty. It is a nasty, but a found footage entry that you kind of forget is one. And it follows... So basically, a group of filmmakers had gone to an jungle to film like local tribes and stuff like that, sort of hidden tribes kind of thing. And we watched their footage. So a load of us, they've gone missing. They're considered lost and missing. So a load of like detectives and like scientists and scholars watching their tapes back that are found. And through that, we see the kind of horrific events that occurred, that they were cruel to these savages, and a lot of cannibalism and knobs being cut off and shit like that, rape, and it's pretty hardcore. It's famous. It's a nasty. Yeah. Famous for many reasons. The fact that they wanted it to be like a snuff movie, and the director was hauled in court and had to break the confidentially clauses he had with his actors for it was like for disappear for a year to prove he hadn't actually killed them. Yeah, incredible story. It's one of those that I believe most should see, just because of the iconic nature of it, even if it is a very horrific watch. It's almost impossible to actually find a completely uncut version of this movie because, famously, it has several scenes of real animal slaughter, and the director has apologised these days and said he regrets his dose and so on, and that's all you can say is, it's good that he regrets his decisions and he should have done it, and he's not alone that people did it, but that stuff, the turtle one and the monkey and stuff like that, that obviously is pretty horrific in itself. As a found footage movie goes, it is excellently done because it never feels like one, even though it is. Because obviously the filming, there was no tropes back then, so they weren't doing the tick box, need that.
It was just what it was.
Instead, it was like, it was still a film, but you'd occasionally see them holding cameras and stuff like that. So for me, it's classy. Not top shelf, but classy.
Yeah.
Digging Up the Marrow. You aware of this one?
No, not seen this one.
Well, this is one I believe I watched on my own. Adam Green, do you know who he is?
No.
So director of Hatchet, the Hatchet series, Victor Crowley.
I think I've seen
great fun movies, lovely, entertaining, gory horror movies. Recommend the Hatchet series for a bit of fun. Particularly, you get a lot of screen queens and famous actors, Tony Todd, people like that. appear in those, Danielle Harris and so on.
Okay.
Good fun movies. Digging Up the Marrow is a found footage documentary style thing where Adam Green effectively plays a fictionalized version of himself who wants to prove that monsters are real. Obviously, he doesn't really think that, but the idea, and there's great scenes that way. He's at like a convention, he's talking to other famous directors, like famous faces, about the possibility of monsters being real and stuff like that. Until he meets or gets contacted by a man who's played by that wonderful Ray Wise. Ray Wise is wonderful in this. You probably know him best from Twin Peaks. But you don't remember who Ray Wise is, do you?
No, who is he in Twin Peaks?
He's the father of the murdered daughter. I can't remember his character, but he would spoilers. He ends up being the villain, possessed by Bob.
Oh yes,
yeah. And basically, Ray Wise doesn't just believe monsters exist; he's got proof that monsters exist, and he also knows where they live, and it's the Marrow.
Okay.
And it's a place you get to underground, and they all live in a city and so on. And Adam Green's kind of like going to go along with it, but obviously it gets more and more dangerous in stone. He begins to worry about this man's sanity and so on. While you get fleeting shots of potentially monsters, or is it people in costumes, that kind of thing.
It sounds interesting.
It is interesting. Here's the thing. I love this and I don't love this. There's no really strong payoff. Which is part of the problem. You get to the Marrow gates.
Yeah.
And that's all you ever get. I love it and I hate it because I wanted more, but I also love that it leaves me, and it's done as even to this date, when I think of what was beyond those gates.
Yeah.
What I conjure up in my mind is Lovecraftian cities. You know? Deep underground, filled with all manner of beasties and stuff like that. That's a good fucking thing. That you have left me going, wow, let me conjure up what I think's there.
My imagination.
But then there's a part of me who's like, let me see something, you know?
Yeah.
But it is an interesting movie, helped by the simple fact that the two main stars, Adam Green and Ray Wise, have good chemistry. It's really interesting. It's really fun. It's stuff like that. I think this classy. After Hannibal Holocaust.
I could give that on a go.
Dybbuk Box, the story of Chris Chambers. Now, this one you definitely haven't seen.
Okay.
Did you?
No. I don't know.
It's a found footage bloke who buys a Dybbuk box online and then does the usual opening thing and then spends the rest of the film getting fucked up by what he unleashed from the box. You know what a Dybbuk box is, right?
No.
Demonic box. Normally used to house something demonic in it. There's a way of opening it and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Shit.
I know there's a name for it.
Yeah, Dybbuk. D-Y-U-B-B-U-K, I believe that's how it's spelled.
Oh, okay. Kind of like the thing Candyman. Oh, not Candyman. Hellraiser. That kind of thing.
No. No. Let's move on from that stupid comment.
That makes sense.
I get what you mean in the sense that you unleash something, but that's a
From a
gateway.
box.
That's a gateway. That's not unleashed from the box. That's a gateway. It's a doorway between the worlds.
Yeah.
So this movie is all one guy talking to the camera. And later on, obviously, up goes the Paranormal Activity cameras. One of the things that fascinate about this movie, now I have a video review in this YouTube channel. Go check it out. Go check out the comments. The comments section is a fascinating wander through people who believe this was real. Oh. And I got saying things like, I don't believe that's real, it's clearly fake and all that. And I think I even commented at one point and went, you all know this is a movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's got an IMDb page. He's an actor.
Yeah.
What on earth? Because it's sold, obviously, as a real-life thing.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that people can still buy... I can't believe people can still buy into stuff like that. I think that's kind of fascinating in itself.
Yeah, because you think that would be more pre-internet films. Anything that's pre-internet, you'd have hard time trying to pick apart reality.
Incredible.
Like that.
Yeah, it's. I almost call it willful ignorance. Because you could literally go IMDb, and then what? Why would I have an IMDb page? Yeah, you know. As a film, it's nothing special. It's guy talks to the camera, things go bump in the night. He's not a terrible actor or anything like that, but it's nothing special at all. It goes on poor. Ahead of Amber Alert.
Okay.
Evil Things. One of the most hilarious things about Evil Things, and I know I haven't seen this one because it's a more modern one. One of the more hilarious things about Evil Things for me was how I watched an director's uncut version. It's like, what the fuck? I've never even heard of this movie. You've got an uncut version.
Just put it out as it is.
I actually believe it was just like a rejudged version where it was like added bits here and there. And basically, it's young adults going to stay at a house for the weekend, come a cropper of a person in a van who kind of hassles them on the road and follows them around a bit and that kind of thing. And then in the house, weird things happen, and eventually they find that this person is filming them, and they see footage that they've been filmed when they're asleep, and then they all get killed. There you go. There you go. I mean, ultimately, talk about its biggest problem is, like, I get so tired of this, hey, we're all going for a weekend, I'm going to film the entire thing.
Yeah.
Who does that? Who does that?
No, you'd film, like, at most snippets or something.
Like the happy birthday bit.
You're playing, like, beer pong, you're playing something, like, you're playing a game and whatever. But, yeah, no, the whole thing is just, no.
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 It's dirt worse.
Yeah.
Exhibit A. So,
Okay. That one?
this is a British one. UK found footage horror.
Oh.
Now, I can tell you now, that is normally that is a collection of words that sends shivers up my fucking spine.
Not in a good way.
Absolutely. Absolutely not a good way. And Exhibit A does something that I still can't believe, and you can see it right there in the picture, is that it gives its away its ending on its cover.
How do you mean?
Because if you can't see it because it's quite small, but in that camera shot, in the viewfinder of that camera, is a dead teenage girl. If you know the movie, you'll see that teenage girl.
Yeah. So you already know she's dead.
You know she's going to die.
Oh. Yes, that's even worse than the opening with the person dying. It's before you even started it, you can see.
Shockingly idiotic. It's as bad as the, was it the Quarantine of Wreck remake, or Wreck Americanized version, where you could see her being dragged on the floor, like in the cover.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, so she's in trouble.
You could quite easily put the viewfinder with like a blank screen.
We have Wreck on this list, and it's the original Wreck cover, which is way more sensible.
Yeah.
But anyway, Exhibit A, it's a UK one, and it is harrowing. I found it's incredibly harrowing because it's basically it's horror, but in a different way, which is basically the collapse of a man who is so heavily in debt and is desperate to lie. He's been lying to his family, and he's heavily in debt, and the pressures that come from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
Really?
You know, it is. I find it to be harrowing as fuck, but I think it's a very, very good movie. It's a very good movie. Okay. It will stay with you. He is he's not a likable man because he has so many opportunities to right the wrongs that he's doing.
And he doesn't take.
And like the bit where she discovers the scratch cards and the shit. Oh God! Even when I see it, it's one of those almost uncomfortable watches. Uncomfortable, you know, because of how much he lies and how, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and all that, and it's just constantly, yeah. But yeah, so it's classy. I would put it at the bottom of classy.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, I'm going to swap these two around because we'll do them in order.
Yep.
Grave Encounters.
Ooh.
So Grave Encounters really, stood out, and it's weird because it is a paranormal horror, doing a lot of the paranormal things. But what it did was it did it better than most.
Because it's someone going in there trying to just prove all these kind of programs of nonsense.
It's really interesting. I've seen so many. I believe this was one of the earliest versions I saw of this sort of where a paranormal TV show to debunk these things.
Yeah.
And they end up in this obviously asylum and basically get trapped inside with no escape. And then it's what goes bump in the night.
Yeah. And it's yeah.
It's really scary.
Really creepy moments. And I like the fact that it makes more sense that you go somewhere that's horrific if you don't believe in it all. Just want to film for TV. It's just it's just a wage packet.
Yeah, an asylum is tick boxing perfect.
Yeah.
But it's done so effectively that I think this is top shelf. I think Grave Encounters is top shelf after Butterfly Kisses.
It's one I'd watch again.
Yeah, I've seen it more than once. It's been a while actually. Might have to come back to it soon then.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Which brings us to the sequel, Grave Encounters 2. A little bit of a drop down here, a little bit of a lesser, as instead of what we now get is a group of kids deciding they want to go into the same asylum to prove that what happened in Grave Encounters 1 was fake, basically.
Yeah.
And so on. So you get a lot of the same sort of tropes with a bit more, I think, over-the-topness. Yeah. However,
there's
it has one of my favourite scares in horror modern. You talk about things that haven't leave an indelible mark. We have Grave Encounters 2, and I'm going to spoil it for you, so here we go. Yeah. It is when these kids think they've actually escaped the asylum and gone back to their hotel room. And they're leaving the hotel room, and I think they're planning just to go their separate ways. And there's a maid cleaning the hallway, and they get inside the lift. And the maid stops cleaning. And as the doors are slowly closing, you just see this maid standing there, slack-jawed, staring directly at them. And that's your moment where you go, oh, shit. The lift goes down, the lift doors open, it's still in the asylum.
Yeah. It's
Classy
so
as
well
fuck.
done. Yeah.
Brilliantly done. Creepy. As I'm saying it, I get that
Really, it's horrible.
vibe again. You know. So for me, it's top shelf. It's
Yeah.
not top shelf. Sorry, classy.
Yeah.
And I'd put it probably bottom of classy because it's a lot of the same beats and it gets a bit silly near the end with the door and all that.
I think so, but I think without the moment you just spoke of, I think it wouldn't be in classy. I feel like that scene alone elevated it.
Yeah.
So.
Right. British UK horror. Hollow. It's about a tree where if you will be near it, you'll commit suicide. Fucking hate this movie. I call it one of the worst things I'd seen. Offensive. And do you know what I remember so strongly about this is the end sequence where you see almost nothing for minutes, where it's just blackness and stuff like that. I fucking hate this movie. I'm not even going to waste my time. Dirt worst. Bottom of dirt worst.
What do you mean by offensive? What did you say by what's offensive to you?
To me.
Of
course it's not fucking offensive.
Yeah.
Offensively made. It's like, oh, we've got something really clever here. And it's just, no, I hate it. I hate it. I don't want to talk about it. I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Which brings me to a really modern one. Host. This was made in 2020 during our lockdown period of coronavirus. And it's made completely via Zoom. That in itself is praiseworthy. However, I don't like this movie. I did not like it. Did you watch it?
No, I've not. I've heard a lot about it because obviously it's still valuable to kind of watch, and it's still quite present. The fact people still doing quite a lot on Zoom, so it's going to have quite a long shelf of where it's current and of the moment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but of the moment, in time, this will be. It'll be dated and it'll be forgotten about.
Yeah.
There's nothing historic about this movie, which is a problem for these kind of films, where it's dated after a certain period and you might as well just forget about it. Host will date very, very quickly. So, group of friends jump on Zoom and decide they want to do an online seance.
No.
And of course, things go wrong and scary things happen to them. Define scary. I like one part of the movie, which is one of the girls initially shows off like a pre-recorded thing she's done where it has her walking into her room. Like it's pre-recorded like a standby screen to confuse the others. And I'm like, why can't you hear us? And it's because it's pre-recorded. Later when she's been attacked, it switches to that pre-recorded screen and so on and for a while. And then like out of nowhere, there's a jump scare. All you see is her head suddenly come flying towards and smashing into the screen. And I like that. However, the rest of it is just chairs get pulled, people get dragged, people go running, and it is a fucking crime for the filming, which is I'm gonna go check something out, bring my laptop, and possibly the best moment. And I thought they were taking the piss. I was like, oh, you're trying to be funny, right? And it's where one of them gets out of the house, runs, remembers to put a mask on. Which is where I was like, oh, is this a joke? But it's still somehow now in a Zoom call, but on her phone. And obviously... And I always sticks in my head because I was like, she put a mask on. I guess that's clever.
Yeah.
But you're running for your life.
And you picked up your...
Terrified. But you were like, oh, nope, coronavirus. Yeah. You're outside anyway. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
But also, I must make sure I have this...
Yeah.
The best thing about it is it's short. To me, it's a poor movie. I realise people might very much disagree, and I know it's quite well liked. But to me, it's poor. Top of poor, but poor.
That's a fair analysis of it.
Up next, we have I Am Alone, starring Gareth David Lloyd, who many will know as Torchwood. Did you ever watch Torchwood, which was the Doctor Who spin-off with John Barrowman?
Yes, that's the only person I knew from it.
He was a star of this.
Okay.
I Am Alone is a found footage zombie flick, but one of my favourite modern horrors because of its pure harrowing nature and a brilliant acting by Gareth David Lloyd. So it's basically, he's a survivalist who's going to go live in the fucking mountains of some place. And he brings a camera and stuff with him. His crew stay in the town. Yep. And that's the plan. They'll meet up in a week's time or something like that. During that time, a zombie outbreak happens. Yep. So they're trapped in the town. You get that side of their dealings in the town, while you get his alone out in the woods, and they never come for him. Yeah. But he always gets bitten by a zombie. Oh. Very early on. So what you actually get is the slow transformation of him turning into a zombie.
Oh, I like that.
And him filming that experience. He doesn't know
Then
it.
He would film it. Yeah, okay.
He doesn't know it. He
okay.
still thinks he's in a survival scene, just getting sicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to spoil the ending for you, but ultimately, obviously, he turns into a zombie. I found the ending almost tearful because he ends up obviously being shot by his friend when he finally gets home.
Oh, okay.
Because he basically reaches home and then he becomes a zombie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very harrowing. It's wonderfully. If you ever want to see the experience of what a slow zombie transformation might be, this is it. I Am Alone. It's top shelf stuff.
Cool.
Top shelf stuff. Really, really is. Can't praise it enough.
I think I still want to watch it because again, I don't think I'd expect much of a happy ending.
It's very emotional.
So yeah,
when I say emotional, I think I understand what emotional means in horror, and this really got me. Even when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh yeah, God, that's so. Like the part when he gives into like the hunger for flesh and is disgusted with himself.
Yeah.
You know, it's yeah.
Ooh, intriguing.
Right, we talked earlier on about a movie that promised a lot and then failed to deliver in a massive way. We're now at another. This is Jerusalem, but with a Z in the middle.
Okay.
This promised a lot as well, where it was going to be the gates of hell open up in Jerusalem, and it was going to be people caught up into it. Are you ready for seeing nothing except shaky camera? Yeah. And what you do see is a CG fucking mess, but also dating itself incredibly. It's like, hey, you know what we'll use? Google Glasses.
Oh, I've seen this. I think I've seen this one. The Jerusalem part, yeah.
Hated this film. Unlikable cast. Behaving, you're doing the whole inappropriate place in a very holy city. That kind of bollocks. And it's just the worst. I remember when you finally sort of start to see things at the end, like demonic angels and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, that CG's so bad. Why would you even do that? Why would you? I'd rather you didn't let me see. Yeah. I'd rather you don't let me see if it's going to look that bad.
Yeah. You can't afford it properly. Yeah.
It's dirt worst. It's dirt worst, and alongside As Above, So Below, but below it because As Above, So Below still has that one cool scene.
Yeah.
One cool scene. Okay, right. We'll do these in order rather than the way they've got them here.
Yep.
We begin with Paranormal Activity. What else do we need to say about Paranormal Activity? Things go bump in the night with a young couple. They put up cameras, very, very few, very low budget, and some creepy shit goes down. Obviously, it's the first in the franchise. Got to try and look at this in a bubble.
Classy, because I feel what it established and what it didn't show you was a good start to it.
No, that is absurd.
Bottom.
Because bear in mind, we're going to do the whole franchise here.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want anything. And there's one that goes in classy, and we're going to get to it. This is fuzzy. Top of fuzzy because it's good. Okay.
So we're nearly there. Nearly on the same page.
Paranormal Activity 2. There's 2. Paranormal Activity 2. Same beats as the first film, a little bit more over the top, but follows the same exact formula, except this time from the other sister's perspective. Yep. To me, this is worse than Paranormal Activity 1 because it's a lot of the same shit.
Yep.
And it kind of doesn't really do that much, really, when I think about it.
It's just a story continuation. It's not, which you could have.
I put it in fuzzy too, but after Paranormal Activity 1. Yeah. I think that's fair, yeah?
That's fair.
3, which is the one that I want to put in classy.
Yeah.
So,
I would agree with it.
This was a real surprise as it's a prequel and goes back to when the sisters were young girls and utilises the technology of that time brilliantly well from some very, very clever camera shots. The fan camera, some good scares. And a nice culmination of that story. Really feel the progression of the franchise as a whole. I'm more than happy for this going classy.
Yep.
I think we should also put it above Grave Encounters 2.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
And talking about progression, we now have come to what I think goes in the dirt worst, which is Paranormal Activity 4, the worst one, where progression is about 2 minutes worth of footage.
Yep.
The rest of it is dumb, seen it all before, and nonsensical filming explanations with the fucking laptop cameras and the stupid shit like that going on. It has a reveal that you can see coming a mile away, yet they desperately try to subvert you by throwing in another kid who then promptly disappears from the film completely.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, dirt worse. And I would put this after Blair Witch, before Hollow, because Hollow's still the fucking dirt worst. Like, that movie sickens me. It still makes me mad when I think about it now. Paranormal Activity, the marked ones. Does some things well. Probably the best set of characters.
Yeah.
Outside number 3.
You care about them.
Really likeable. Yeah. Good chemistry.
And they set it up well. They set the reason up why they're filming, which makes sense. They're young teenagers.
Yeah, and
so I'm getting on board with that.
We all can also praise that it's move a location from middle class suburbia.
Huge houses, yeah.
Yeah, to low income, what's it called it?
Like working class families.
Working class families, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But unfortunately, it loses so much by the end. Absolutely absurd guns and God, don't get me started on the absolute insanity. And we're talking about reasons to film, and you like got gang members pulling out shotguns where they're going to go shoot up a load of old women and being like, yeah, you can film, no worries. Fucking hell. Fuzzy.
Yeah, because
because of the first parts are good.
Yeah, and the progression was good as well because it showed him being bubbly, and then carried on into what eventually happened.
Bottom of Fuzzy.
Yeah, because it's kind of middling, isn't it? Yeah.
Then we get to the last of the paranormal activities to date, the ghost dimension. Hey, remember this tagline? I just love this tagline. Was it something like, for the first time you will see the activity? What have I been watching for movies? Wasn't that Activity? No, what they mean is we're going to show you CGI smoke monster man. Yeah, it's so over the top. Yeah. I appreciate you have to ramp it up at this time. I really do. But what they end up doing is just so partially the same fucking crap and likable characters, and then it's just like, rah! Yeah. I don't like it. I do like the fact that it ends with ultimately success for the witches and the demon being born and all that, but that's not enough. Poor.
Yeah, definitely.
Bottom of poor.
Yep, definitely.
Wreck.
Top shelf for me.
Top shelf. One of the finest modern zombie horrors, as well as a great found footage movie. We are dealing with Wreck, the Spanish film version, not Quarantine. Quarantine is just a beat for beat American copy.
People that don't want to read subtitles.
Basically, yeah, I don't want to do that. So go see Wreck. It's a lower budget, so you get a lot more of the grittiness. I love Wreck. It's set in an apartment block that gets put under quarantine when a zombie outbreak happens, and the people try to survive there. It has some incredible scares, a top shelf ending, good characters, good acting.
The way the story all links and stuff like that. Things that I mentioned earlier, like the dog, and
it's quite terrifying. It's quite terrifying as well.
It's very realistic. The fact that when they do quarantine a building, it would be that sudden, that quick, and things like that, and you just have to deal with what happens. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same here.
The reason for filming was there because it was during a quarantine. There was a reporter.
She's a news reporter. Yeah, so originally she's only there. They're only there because she's filming like a late night expose on the local fire department, and they go on a trip with the firemen to their thing, and they get locked in the apartment block. And then obviously, as a news reporter, you're like, you're going to film all of this, because why have you been quarantined in an apartment block? And you think it might be illegal and stuff like that. Absolutely.
So good.
Absolutely.
Another one I want to watch again.
Yeah. Top shelf, and I'd put it top. Yeah. Top of top shelf, like it's the best one so far.
It does it really well. It uses technology, it uses filming, and it's just, there's moments that are so creepy.
Yeah. And whatever people tell you, the sequels are good. Wreck 2 is a good, and I like the fact that they then add a religious connotation to the zombie outbreak to difference things up. Wreck 3 is a fascinating watch because it's half found footage, half not. But I adore Wreck 3 Genesis. I adore it as one of the most lovely love stories of a horror movie. And Wreck Genesis, which I only watched once, and I really probably needed to go back again.
Was that the what one?
The one on the boat.
Wedding. Oh, okay.
The wedding, Wreck Genesis, Wreck 3.
Wreck Genesis, yep, and then that was the boat.
Not Wreck Genesis, Wreck 3. Wait, what? I'm getting confused about which one's which now. Wreck 3 is the wedding. Wreck 4 Genesis, I think, is the original. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thing. Yeah.
But yeah, a good series of found footage.
Yeah, I only put one Wreck in this one because I got kind of stuck and was like, can I really call Wreck 3 a found footage movie? Because obviously originally it's all wedding videos and stuff like that, but then it switches to competently filmed horror.
But I love the fact that when Wreck, I know it's a different film, but when it links into the other films about an uncle being said, oh, he's got bitten by something.
Yeah, he's the one who was in the block of flats.
In the block of flats, and it's like, oh,
he took it from there, and it was the rabbit animal from the. He took. Yeah, so that's how that goes. Yeah,
it's a fantastic watch. Yeah.
Up next, we have one I don't think is very well known at all. It's called Hide the Monster, and it's effectively a local student kind of doing his thesis, I believe, or doing his college thing, ends up helping a single mother connect with her son, who's having a bit of a rough time since his father left and stuff like that. His kind of motivation is that he fancies the pants off this woman, and he wants to kind of get with her. And he ends up calling his friend into it on the basis that they can use this stuff for, like, you know, it's like to be for his PhD to do with child psychology. Yeah. That's it. Okay. She can't afford like professional help, so she's willing to sort of help. And this kid loves a game called Hide the Monster. Okay. Effectively, it's hide and seek, but it's when he hides, he fucking disappears. Yeah. And that's the important part. It's unfortunately where it falls down is it's very Paranormal Activity in the sense that he sets up, you know, cameras in corners and all that, and we get things like the kid. Eventually, it leads to the fact that his father was part of a ritualistic kind of cult kind of thing, and the kid's been chosen to do certain things. Okay. I think it's all right. I think I'll put it bottom of fuzzy, as it's got some interesting moments, and I think the story's well told, but unfortunately, it's not memorable enough to really stand out. I can never think of a specific moment that goes, oh yeah, that was quite good, you know?
So what's the mask about? Is that just when he's talking?
That's what he likes to wear because he doesn't like to talk. And like, it's just like a thing he likes to wear to hide his face. Hide the monster. Because he believes... The point is, in the end, he believes he's the monster. Hide the monster. Bottom of fuzzy. Yep. Not top, bottom. There we go. Savageland. One of the more intriguing found footage movies because it does this in quite a different way. An event that resulted in an entire small town on the border of Mexico gets wiped out one night. And a man, one of the survivors, who is found bloodied, wandering, is accused of it. Whereas then we obviously see the footage, so to speak, of what occurred in that event. But normally that would be footage. Yeah. It is not. It's camera stills. Yeah. And we then explore the entire journey through talking heads, documentary makers, people who were witnesses or knew the man, a sheriff, locals and stuff like that, as they do beat by beat each picture, the progression of what occurred in this town when it looks like zombies came to town. But not only that, what this movie really excels in is how it blurs the line between racism, what you call it, what's the other word I'm looking for? Xenophobia. Yeah. Things like that about towards Mexicans and Americans' view on you know Mexican workers and stuff like that. It can be quite emotional. It can be quite touching. It's undone. A lot of its great work is undone by the last minute or two, which is something I really wish they hadn't done. I wish they just left it ambiguous more than anything else. But the pictures particularly as well that are shot, because a lot of them as well obviously are done in a panic moment. You get these blurred lines. You can't quite see what it is, but it tells an incredible fucking story. And it's like, it's documentary. Like, you know, where you get like all right, so he went here and it shows on the map and all that. I think it's classy.
Definitely classy.
And I'll be brave enough to put this above Digging Up the Marrow. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. Because I loved it. Yeah. It was one of the more recent ones we watched that took us by complete surprise.
Yeah, because it was, just to not see footage and just have to kind of like look at blurry pictures of creepy, we don't know what, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, the closest you get is one where one's trying to come in through like a window up the school, I think, and even that was just. But
that's like, isn't that like number 26 or 27? Yeah. That's your payoff. That's your last picture. So it's totally understandable. Yeah.
Really good.
Not something so good now. It is something crashed in the woods. None of you will have seen this, and let me tell you right now, don't. If you want 60 odd minutes, might be less than that, 60 odd minutes of a man saying the same thing over and over again. I mean, when I mean over and over again, you will not believe this is a 5-minute film somehow stretched into nothing. As the same things are said over and over again. Oh, these trees are burned. It's like something crashed here. What happened here? And it all culminates in nothing. Absolutely nothing, except implied that maybe an alien ship had landed. You can hear the noises. I fucking hate this movie. It's worse than Hollow. It's worse than Hollow. Why? Because at least Hollow has a story. This has no story. This has no fucking story. It is one guy, and I know it's all his work, and it's low budget, and that's fine. But I simply put, if your stuff you're doing is shit, you don't put it out there. But hey, it's Amazon Prime. I could wipe my ass, put it on the screen for 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure I'd get it on Prime. Yeah. The Amityville Haunting. One of the Amityville films. And one of the ones that decided, you know what? We're making Amityville movies left, right, and fucking centre. You know what we've not done? A found footage Amityville haunting. You know those really popular Paranormal Activity movies? Well, we're the first Paranormal Activity movie, technically. Let's copy that movie exactly and say Amityville.
Oh.
And it is such a fucking copy of the same bollocks you've seen. Unbelievably wank. God, that movie. And there's so many bad Amityville horror movies. And this one is just up there. Because not only is it a bad Amityville movie, but it's a bad found footage horror. It's dirt worse. And I'll put it...
Ooh.
Yeah, because it rips off Paranormal Activity. Calm, it's time for something good. The Bay.
Oh, yes. I remember this one.
This is a wonderful, wonderful movie that is one that I find incredibly unsettling because it's virus-based.
And it's very realistic.
Very realistic.
Very realistic, and because it involves cover-ups and political
Yeah.
corruption and small towns and water, because obviously you do trust what you're given.
It draws incredible parallels to the things that happen in Flint, Michigan, and stuff like that.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which is incredible. And basically, the Bay's premise is, again, it's a mockumentary. It's this town's 4th of July, centenary celebration. But basically, a local chicken farm where they've been putting hormones into chickens and then dumping the chicken shit into the local river has created these things that do exist, amoebas that do exist, but transform them into more monstrous things that affect us through the water and then cause massive rashes, and then it's coming out of your body, and it's very disgusting. And you follow this documentary as this town collapses, people get sicker, the hospital gets overrun. It's terrifying. It really is one of the most uncomfortable watches. And you see it from the idea is from different angles. You've got news reports, you've got local CCTV, you've got stuff done on the bigger news channels, you've got calls made to the CDC.
People filming themselves because they don't
filming themselves. The young girl that films her experience in the hospital, to a couple that have been away in a boat and are arriving back in the town the night where everything's just collapsed in them. It stays with you. It's top shelf stuff.
Definitely.
I would put this.
Where would you go with this one?
Near the top. I'm thinking there.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The Blair Witch Project. Interesting, because time has not done us any favours.
No.
And I've seen it way too much, and that I almost don't want to put it in the top shelf. But it is the Blair Witch Project. If you don't know it, if you don't know it. A couple of amateur filmmakers want to film the story around the legend of the Blair Witch in Maryland. What's the place in Maryland? Burkittsville in Maryland. So go off into the woods, get themselves well and truly lost, and things go bump in the night. But very subtly, and it culminates in a very, very effective finale. There are things, we mock at these days. Josh!
And snot, and the camera underneath her snotty nose. I think that was mocked.
Scary Movie
Scary Movie came out the same year, I think, or just
I don't know if it was the same year, but it mocked quite quickly. It's been parodied to hell. It's been tributed to hell. I think it is top shelf. It is, because it's the Blair Witch Project. But I kind of want to put it at the bottom of top shelf.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Just because I think what's ahead of it took that blueprint and did better.
And there's elements in each of them films that are like, this is what it should be. Yeah.
The Borderlands. Now, I think this was one of these movies that is all about to pay off. So basically, a local priest in a small parish has reported to the Vatican that he's having spiritual events. So they send a priest and a local cameraman, Vatican cameraman, to go and film the events and basically prove it. And the priest is very cynical, doesn't really believe it, and his aim is to disprove it, whereas the local priest is quite in awe of what's going on. And it feels like a paranormal horror and stuff like that. Do I spoil this ending? No, I don't want to spoil this.
No, it's a good film. It's UK as well.
Yeah, this is it's a very well told story, very competently filmed, very creepy vibe, but great acting as well from that. I love the idea of a priest who just doesn't really believe in his shit because he's been doing it for a long, long time, and his goal is to disprove it, which constantly puts him on loggerheads with the cameraman who kind of he's young and he wants to enjoy this kind of thing. Its ending is horrific. It is horrendous. I'll always remember the moment when the camera switches back on and you see what it is, and you realise what that means. Top shelf stuff, bottom of top shelf, but top shelf stuff.
Another one I want to watch again.
Yeah, it's been a while for the Borderlands. Was this the last? No, it's not the last of the worst, but it might be. This I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to put it exactly where it belongs.
The worst. I can't remember this one. I'm pretty sure I've watched this one with you.
The Frankenstein theory is one of the dumbest, most insulting. I said in a review, the filmmakers might as well have stopped the movie, got on camera and gone, fuck you. Because that's how insulting its shitty ending is. But forget that. Its premise, you're going to love this, is this guy who is somehow eventually related to Victor Frankenstein, believes that Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is based on a true story. And that Frankenstein's monster exists out there in the wilderness. I know. If that doesn't make you go, oh, problem with that is that's great for a fantasy story. But this isn't what this movie's trying to be.
No.
This movie's trying to be a realistic found footage documentary about him trying to find Frankenstein's monster out in the wilderness. So you want me to buy into this as real?
Yeah.
Real. And that's your story.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Why don't we go to Transylvania and find out if Dracula's... I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. It's fucking boring. He, the star, is so fucking unlikable and the others are so forgettable. And nothing happens until the end. And it is the last 30 seconds. And it is just like... Are you fucking kidding me? Watch it just to share my experience of what I consider to be, of this tier list, the worst. The worst.
Okay. I'm glad you watched these and saved me the time.
I watch everything, don't I? The houses that October built goes in the dirt worst because it is one of the promising ones that promised something that ended up being the same old shit. And it's actually got a sequel as well. So Houses October built is kids in an RV want to go around and experience the most terrifying haunts.
Okay.
Now, I love that premise because I know in America, particularly haunts, can be quite an experience where it's meant to be quite realistic and stuff like that. But they end up coming a cropper of a specific haunt that is too real. Yeah. And then they get chased down and, clowns, stabby. Ah! Yeah. I think the premise is great. I think the execution is piss poor. Dirt worst. Ooh.
Where are we going with this one?
I think here's a good place for it. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
We have another that promised so much.
I know which one it is, and it offends me because I love Egypt.
Fuck that movie for what it actually shows. It is the pyramid. Yeah. Now, I got really stoked about this. The idea of an uncovered pyramid that never existed, and then going into it and finding what it is. And what it is basically a CG version of Anubis, and it looks fucking horrendous. Or, oh God, the CG cats. The CG zombie cats. Oh. No. Yeah, this movie's terrible. Starts off wonderfully where, like As Above, So Below, like Jerusalem, like the House October built, you're like, okay, this could be good.
It's just, the whole idea of like walking through a new pyramid. Like when you hear tales of people who used to go through the pyramids, if you lost your guide or the rope, you'd be lost in there and dead forever. That is terrifying. The idea of that physically is horrendous. Like you can literally just die somewhere because no one knows but the Egyptians how it's built and what they try to build it for. They try to build it so people would die down there. But, very frustrated. I think we saw this one at the cinema.
Did we?
I think we saw this one and Up Above, So Below. I think we was going for a cinema. I think we had our passes then.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Some films. But, we were just really frustrated when we came out of watching that one.
Right, the question is, worse... Right, you don't know Evil Things, so I'm leaving Evil Things where it is. Worse than As Above, So Below?
I think so.
Yes. Yeah. Not even you think so. The answer is yes. Worse than Jerusalem?
I'm trying to picture Jerusalem. No.
I'll answer it for you. It goes in between the two. Absolutely, it goes between the two. We've got pause again. I've just forgotten this next one. I want to remember where the location specifically is. For some reason, I'm thinking Paris, but I just want to check it.
What's the film called?
The Tunnel.
The Tunnel. Oh.
Nope, I remember. It's Aussie. Up next, we have a more modern... Well, not modern. It was released in 2011, but modern in the sense I watched it last year. And I watched this and saw mockumentary. And like I said, that's my preferred style of found footage. Hey, filmmakers, do more good mockumentaries. That's the way to go with found footage these days. And this one intrigued me. Although I didn't expect much, I ended up being really, really pleasantly surprised by it. It is set in Sydney, where basically water shortages through heat and stuff like that is a real problem. We're getting a lot of news stuff like that. So the government has come up with this idea of basically tapping into underground reservoirs. It causes a massive amount of controversy because they're going to have to dehouse a lot of homeless that sleep in the tunnels and stuff like that. And then one day, the government just stop and forget about it. And it's like it never happened, which gets the interest of a reporter. Why?
Why would you stop?
Why would you just stop? You had this massive underground reservoir and you just decided not to. So she decides she wants to investigate and she wants to go down there. And there's your story. What is in the tunnel? Love it. Yeah. Love it. It is such an effectively creepy movie. I will remember this. Like, when I can remember a scene specifically, particularly from a modern horror, I think it speaks volume. And I remember the bell ring. Ringing the bell. And then they listen back to it. And it cuts between... What's quite interesting is you know certain people survive because it cuts between them afterwards, talking to the camera about the events. You would think that ruins it, but it doesn't because it really adds that documentary feel to it. And I love the fact there's that bell room scene where she and the other guy are given the headphones, hearing what the recording guy heard for the first time. That added such realism that I was like, that's creepy, terrible. Yeah. It has its flaws. It gets very dark and very hard to see. There's an underwater sequence scene that's just horrendous to watch, which is a problem in itself. But the effectiveness of like the long shot of the underground lake, oh, these are wonderful, wonderful stuff. It's classy as fuck. I would put it...
Going for classy.
I might put bottom of classy.
Yeah.
Yeah, bottom of classy.
Because you had a couple of scenes that might have...
Yeah, lower that. And it is still found footage tickery. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't really get too excited about that. Which brings us to the last one. And this is going to be a really fascinating one where you put this. Because you've seen this. Because I think I've insisted you watch it. There Are Monsters. Which was adapted from a short horror and then turned into a full length of youngsters that are going around. They're part of their film school education and stuff like that. I think they're gonna go to a school and film some bits and stuff like that. Basically, along the way, they run into a series of events and people that leave you scratching your head. Don't seem right. This is very Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and their sequence of events is basically we're being replaced. Quietly and secretly, without knowing, we are being replaced by these people, these creatures, these things that look exactly like us. But if you watch and talk to them long enough, you'll discover they're not who they say they are. And the trick is this: the smile.
Oh, yeah.
Major important point. But also, they will only have a memory of the most recent time. And we see that effectively done where they quiz a certain character and discover that he can't remember certain events before and he's been replaced. But what's really cool is the early stages when they become us, they can't speak our language, they can't do our faces right. There's these twin women that have their makeup done badly. There's the great part in the hospital where everything culminates in this terrifying scene of realizing that it's larger and bigger. They can move very fast. Their faces distort, which is a bit cheap looking, but it's done in short, sharp shocks, which works really well.
Because there's one where they're parked up. I can't remember where.
Come slamming up against the window. It's actually the opening scene.
Yeah, because at first they were like, oh, that person, what's that person just doing standing over there?
Yeah, standing watching. Okay?
Yeah, and they just yeah. Oh yeah, it's quite a few years ago I watched that, but now it sounds it's very creepy. And it's just when people come up with fresh ideas, like we've seen ghosts, we've seen exorcisms, give us these unsettling ideas.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm cool with that one.
Where would you put it?
I would go classy. No,
I tricked you for that because I'm now going to talk about where it falls down. Fuzzy.
Rip me up.
Yeah, it goes on fuzzy. And the reason being is because the latter portion of the movie falls apart. where they're kind of like on the run and they're hiding out, and it's a lot of found footage stuff where there's no need to be filming anymore. It's about survival. And there's a very lengthy scene in the basement where it's complete darkness and they're using the flash of a camera to take pictures and then checking the picture to see if anyone's there.
Yeah.
It goes on for ages. It's a very, very disappointing ending. Disappointing final third. It does culminate in a cool final scene, admittedly. It's fuzzy. I think I'd put it top of fuzzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm one of the creatures because I forgot about them bits. Dun, dun, dun.
There you go. There's our 35 ranking. Quick rundown. So, in the dirt worst, the biggest category, no surprise. We have the Frankenstein Theory, Something Crashed in the Woods, Hollow, The Amityville Haunting, Paranormal Activity 4, The Houses That October Built, Blair Witch, Jerusalem with a Z, The Pyramid, As Above, So Below, and Evil Things. I can't tell you that category is 100% correct. 100% correct. Poor, Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, Amber Alert, Dybbuk Box, The Chris Chambers Story, and Host. Happy with that?
Yeah, most of them I've not seen, but yeah, I agree with the arguments behind it.
Fuzzy, Hide the Monster, Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones, Bad Ben, Paranormal Activity 2, Paranormal Activity 1, and There Are Monsters. I think that's fair.
Yeah, fair.
Classy, The Tunnel, Grave Encounters 2, Paranormal Activity 3, Exhibit A, Digging Up the Marrow, Savageland, and the top of Classy, Cannibal Holocaust.
It's fair. It's ramping up.
Yeah, I think like there's some great movies in that. Like a lot of those are great movies. I think from that point onwards, these are the movies you should be watching for sure. You can check out some of the ones on Fuzzy, like I said, just to get your opinion on them. But from Classy onwards, definitely watch. Top shelf, Borderlands, The Blair Witch Project, I Am Alone, Grave Encounters, The Bay, Butterfly Kisses, and the one we ranked the top of this bunch, Wreck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm done. Yeah.
I can't see anything better than Wreck there.
No.
And the thing is, like, I think like you got Wreck there, and then you've got like Butterfly Kisses, The Bay, and they're all like very close behind each other. But Wreck is the top one to see.
Definitely.
We will, of course, have more found footage ones to rank in the future, but we'll get to that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror, and heavy metal. What else is life for?